today's topic. I want to make sure we are all on the same page because you may not know who I am talking about. And if you are wondering how I know about this, yes, I see your comments like, Granny, how do you know this? Auntie, where did you hear that? Here's my answer to those remarks. I make it my business to stay informed because the moment you stop learning, you stop growing, family. I have never been someone who closes herself off to only what is familiar and comfortable, and I encourage you to do the same. Do not live inside an echo chamber where you only hear voices that sound exactly like yours or agree with you. Stay curious, stay open, because a balanced mind requires balanced input. Now, back to the topic of today. His name is Jason DeFord. Most people know him as Jelly Roll. He is a Grammy award-winning singer and rapper out of Nashville, Tennessee. He grew up poor, spent years in and out of jail, battled drug addiction, and carried morbid obesity for most of his adult life. By every measure, the odds were completely against him. But he turned his life around, lost nearly 300 pounds, and earlier this year, walked away from the Grammy stage with 3 awards. During his acceptance speech, he broke down in tears, thanking his wife for saving his life. A few months later, he filed for divorce, and the internet lost its mind. But before you pick a side in this story, I need you to slow down, because there is a lesson here that goes way beyond Jelly Roll and his wife, Bunny. It's about how quickly we decide who the villain is and how often we get it completely wrong. 4 things stood out to me in this situation, and I'm not bringing them up to gossip. I'm bringing them because every single one of them can show up in your life, in your marriage, and in your family. So let us look at it clearly and let us look at it honestly. Bunny stood by Jelly Roll when he had absolutely nothing going for him. She helped him with his sobriety. She helped him fight for custody of his daughter. She helped him build the career that eventually took him to the Grammy stage. He has said on camera more than once that without her, he would be dead or back in jail.
Now, after that time in his life, he was heavily in his drug use time. He was extremely overweight, self-destructive behavior, fighting for custody for his daughter, and Bunny saved him. He has credited this woman with helping him change his life, and if it wasn't for her, he wouldn't be here. His words, not mine.
Now, according to both of them, the whole thing started with one argument on Mother's Day. In the middle of that argument, fed up and exhausted, Bunny told him to go ahead and file the divorce papers. She packed a bag, walked out, and did not speak to him for weeks. By the time they finally talked again, he had already filed. 10 years of marriage, and it unraveled over one conversation that nobody was willing to follow up on. Ephesians 4 tells us not to let the sun go down on our wrath, because when you do, you give the enemy room to move in. Weeks of silence after one angry sentence is exactly that kind of room. If someone stood by you through your worst years, you owe them more than weeks of silence when things get hard between you. Anger said out of exhaustion does not erase 10 years of loyalty. The least you can do is pick up the phone. I need you to hear this next part because I'm not just talking about Jelly Roll. Carrying that kind of weight year after year is not a personal struggle. It's a daily risk to your life. Obesity at that level raises your chances of heart disease, diabetes, and early death. And it does not wait for you to be ready to deal with it. It also takes a toll on everyone around you because you have less to give when your body is under that kind of strain. He admitted his weight kept him from being fully present as a husband, and it took him the better part of a decade to say that out loud. Years of marriage weighed down by something neither of them was naming. If you are carrying weight you have been putting off dealing with, the goal is not perfection. The goal is to stop treating your health like a someday problem when it is a right now problem, family. Your body is not separate from your faith or your family. Taking care of it is one of the most honest ways you can show up for the people counting on you to still be here. Jelly Roll lost the weight. He won 3 Grammys. He built a brand new version of his public image. And both he and Bunny have said publicly that nobody cheated and nobody did anything wrong. Yet they are still going through a divorce. If nobody did anything wrong, then what is the divorce for, family? Matthew 19 tells us that Jesus pointed to sexual immorality as the grounds for divorce. That is not what either of them is describing. So when 2 people stand in front of cameras and say, we love each other and nobody did anything wrong, and then still proceed with a divorce, that tells me the real conversation has not been had yet, at least not publicly.
Extra obtaining these court documents. Jelly Roll, whose real name is Jason DeFord, filed to end his marriage just weeks before their 10th wedding anniversary. Inside the papers, he says he and Alyssa Carter, better known as Bunny XO, are unable to live successfully as husband and wife, and that they have suffered irreconcilable differences, listing the date of their separation as May 9th. Only hours before the news broke, Bunny had been singing along to Nickelback's breakup anthem, How You Remind Me, on Instagram.
You heard it yourself. He says the 10 years were incredible. He says she is his best friend. He says nobody did anything wrong and he still filed. That is the tension. Because outward transformation does not automatically produce inward transformation. The patterns that were present before the weight loss and the Grammys do not disappear just because the circumstances change. Real change shows up in how you treat the people who prove themselves to you long before anyone was watching. Now, here's where I want to bring something in briefly because it goes beyond just this couple. Around the same time, LeVar Ball, the father of 3 professional basketball players, announced that his marriage of nearly 30 years was ending. LeVar had stood by his wife, Tina, through a serious stroke and cared for her through her recovery. He later lost his own leg to diabetes complications, and then Tina filed for divorce. Here is what I want you to notice. When Jelly Roll filed for divorce after Bunny stood by him, the public came down hard on him. He was called ungrateful. People said he got healthy and decided she was no longer good enough. Divorce after LeVar stood by her. The public reaction flipped completely. People said she left him after he gave her everything. LeVar got the sympathy. Tina got the blame. 2 completely different situations, 2 different genders, but the same pattern every single time. We give sympathy to whoever did the staying, and we give blame to whoever did the leaving, without ever asking what led them to that door, without ever considering that we might only have one side of the story.
Jay and I have lost 4 embryos. We've had 3 transfers, but we lost to 2 twins that we were going to try to have, and then we lost the other 2. Anybody that's going through that and has to deal with these miscarriages, it's gut-wrenching. It is so heartbreaking. It is, you get so... I don't want to cry. You get so mad at God because you're like, why is it so easy for, people who don't deserve children to just be able to pop them out? But 2 people who really want a baby together.
Did you hear what she said? She lost 4 embryos, 3 failed transfers. She was carrying grief inside that marriage that she never spoke about publicly until after the divorce was filed. If she was carrying all that quietly, is it not possible that Jelly Roll was carrying something too that we simply have not heard yet? And if Tina Ball was carrying something inside 30 years of marriage that led her to her decision, is it not possible she had her reasons too? The point is not that everyone is innocent. The point is that we do not know. And the speed at which we decide and the confidence with which we pick a villain says more about us than it does about them. Honor the people who help you survive. Take care of the body God gave you. Tell the truth about why you are really leaving. And before you hand someone the villain label based upon the headline and a few clips, ask yourself whether you have actually heard the whole story or just the part that was easiest to believe. If this video gave you something to think about today, please like it, share it with somebody who needs to hear it, and leave me a thoughtful message below. I want to know, do you think we are too quick to blame whoever walks away in a divorce without knowing the full picture? When you hear a story like this one, how do you make sure you are weighing both sides fairly? And have you ever judged someone in a relationship situation only to find out later you only had part of the story? I have linked the clips connected to this topic in the description box so you can watch them and weigh things for yourself. I'm Deborah, and this is Family Still Matters. And because family still matters, so does slowing down long enough to see people clearly, to honor those who stood by us, and to seek the kind of wisdom that does not rush to judgment. That is how we grow, family. That is how we heal. And that is how we live out the purpose God placed inside of us. Thank you for watching. And as always, the last word I want to leave with you is not mine, but the word of God. Proverbs 18:17 says, "The first to state a case always sounds right until someone comes along and examines it more carefully."